Starting on the 10th, all US banks will have to use the XRP ledger. Is there actually a partnership between XRP and SWIFT now? And why might Trump not be so good after all? For crypto, we'll discuss all of that in this video. I've gathered all the news, which is why this is a bit of a later update. I would say let's not waste any time. Let's dive right in and check it out. Before we dive in, a big thank you to you. We're getting closer eyeing to the 10K market. Yesterday's video also got over 3,100 views. And even if you like this video, you can support my work, my hours of research, completely free of charge and with no effort by leaving a free like, which will help push this video forward. Just click the button and that whole topic is done. And if this is your first video and you're looking for a channel that delivers all the important crypto news in a fact-based, open, honest, transparent, and hype-free way, well, then welcome aboard. You can also become an uptrender now, and it's completely free. Just leave a subscription. That also helps push everything up, and feel free to activate the bell so you don't miss any important info. And now let's dive in. Before we get to XRP, let's quickly summarize. Trump is elected, and the crypto market is happy. Bitcoin is skyrocketing, and there is no more tomorrow. Then comes the inauguration, and that's when the first disillusionment set in. Yes, exactly. They didn't talk about crypto there, which I can personally understand because the guy is obviously going to have other topics on his desk. Then he signed a few executive orders, which kicked off discussions about Bitcoin reserves, etc. There was already a certain upswing. Okay, then came the theft victory for which he can't be blamed right now. I might want to suggest that the Chinese intentionally pushed some news that just dumped the market. But then the tariffs came, and now we should be aware that with the tariffs, it's not really about the penalties themselves, but rather about creating a better basis for negotiation. Because with Trump stepping out and saying, okay, starting today, we're implementing this whole thing in Canada, Mexico, and so on, well, China should definitely be active right now. But in any case, with Mexico and Canada, it quickly became clear, oh man, he's serious. So we need to react to this somehow. And then the negotiation started. Unfortunately, this decision alone has only held up in the first step. The crypto space has been hit really hard. And for a week now, things haven't really recovered. And now, this leads to something because it could mean that the interest rate cuts might not happen. There are now different voices on this. For example, here, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Before you all hate me, Austin Goolsbee, who is the president of the Chicago Federal Reserve, and he clearly emphasizes, guys, when it comes to interest rate cuts, we should be more cautious now. But there's also another interview with Susan Collins on CNBC. That's the president of the regional central bank, Boston Fed. And she clearly explains that with these planned tariffs, it's not just about price increases for end products anymore, but logically, all these intermediaries will also be affected. And that's the big question now. Are US citizens going to switch to something else in some way? And say, well, I'd rather buy local, to put it bluntly, and not have to deal with those price increases anymore? Or are there perhaps areas where a US citizen can't avoid paying more? And this is a simple counter calculation, which, by the way, Jim Rogers also fears. If these tariffs are enforced and also remain in place, that's the big question now. Does he just want to use this as leverage and then it will be dissolved again? Or will they stay? But what if they are enforced like that? And it has already been mentioned that much more is to come. Then prices will rise. If prices rise, let's assume that an average American household might face additional costs of around $100-200 a year. Then logically, that money isn't available for investing. There, on the other hand, it could also happen that some investors pull capital out of the market to plug those budget gaps. Now, one might say at this point, okay, the US market is probably not comparable to the Asian market, but we should still be aware that 1 in 5 Americans who are eligible to vote is invested in cryptocurrencies. So the number isn't exactly not that low. And then this whole issue could also lead to an increase in unemployment. It's logical in a way because companies have higher costs and want to produce more cheaply. So what do you think will happen? So, like I said, we just have to wait and see what will actually be implemented in the end. So with Trump, we've learned that he can be quite unpredictable. So if he says something like that today, he could react completely differently tomorrow. What also counts in this is the game. The market makers are really cashing in right now, filling their pockets. So please take a look at this. That was our big crash regarding the penalty sell. And we're talking about the largest liquidation in the history of Bitcoin. And you can really see the extent of it. By the way, those Coinbase Glass numbers don't count either. So that has already been debunked. I also shared that on X. By the way, if you're not following me there yet, feel free to do so. Below is the link to it. All the news is summarized briefly and compactly there, and not just once a day like in the video. Definitely, there was also the point that Bybit announced, guys, it can't be true because the numbers that Coinbase published are lower than what was liquidated on Bybit alone. But that's just a side note. And I want to briefly touch on a topic. I read it in the comments yesterday. Yeah, you're out there in fear. So crypto, this isn't for you. No, don't underestimate it. Please don't confuse fear with realism. Because I'm not going in here with any emotions anymore. When I look at the crypto market, no matter which token it is, once it reaches a certain profit threshold, I sell it, no matter what anyone out there is saying. So first pull out the initial investment and let it keep running. Of course, holding a moon back, always important, but only realized gains are real gains. And emotions are completely wrong there. At the spot, so if you have different views on that, feel free to discuss it with me. But the last bull run taught me that this is probably the healthier option. And before we get to XRP, here's a bit of dangerous half knowledge that was spread on Friday. Because there was the unemployment rate. It was released. And as you can see here, that should be totally bullish because the unemployment rate has gone down. So why hasn't anything happened with Bitcoin? Because it depends on the context. Somewhere it's logical. When the unemployment rate goes down, it means more people have jobs. And the economy, as it is currently set up, is definitely supported by fundamentals. But that also means that when the economy is strong, there's less reason to lower interest rates in any way. And that was the impulse that came out of here. I just want to give the tip here, so I won't be taking credit for someone else's work. I have my sources as well. Christian Ledger, I've interviewed him several times. He has his own Telegram group where he shares insights from an institutional perspective because he is a hedge fund manager and also has his own hedge fund at the Stuttgart Stock Exchange and shares his knowledge. So feel free to check the description and follow him in the group. Because you can pull out such information and not just quickly throw a few assets into Bitcoin in the blind hype and then end up wondering, why is the market reacting completely differently? Those are exactly the results from that. In my comments, I've had the chance to read quite a few times whether all US banks will have to use the ledger starting from March 10th. In March, they all have to use the ledger. And the topic, it came up so often that I thought about it. I took a closer look at it. By the way, because it says down there about this technical system adjustment, I personally don't believe that. It's about the failure of the XRP ledger because Schwartz didn't really react to that either, but rather explained that we don't know what the cause is. So that could have been communicated a bit differently, that the FID isn't that significant, but that's just by the way, so I don't think that has anything to do with it. But now let's see if something like that really is coming. Groundbreaking things are coming starting March 10th. March is coming, so I just went on Google to search for it, and normally something like that should result in a top hit. So US banks have to use XRP. And you can't find anything about it here, not even any current articles. Now I've pulled up the latest one from the 22nd. First, greetings go out to Mirko, where the whole topic is summed up quite nicely, but is so effective so that something on the 10th, something should happen in March. I've also kept asking where this information is supposed to come from. I'm happy to be corrected if you can provide me with sources, but I can't find anything on that. And that has nothing to do with any fear, it's just realism. I'm saying that I would be very, very cautious about any information that comes out like that. Well, of course, sure, more and more partnerships are being formed. Well, everything is beautiful, but something cross-cutting. So where it also gets into the topic of SWIFT. So I'll get to that in a moment, whether there's a partnership between Ripple and SWIFT. But on that topic, sorry guys, I couldn't find anything, no matter how long I researched, because I also went looking for that and I just couldn't find anything solid. Pulling out current information. So here now from the 22nd January, an integration between Swift and Ripple. Then it mentions a bit about what the pros and cons are. But that was it. So there's nothing about the partnership here for now. Then I went a bit further. That's the latest article from the 7th February. Feel free to read it through at your leisure. There are a lot of information included, be it regulatory clarity, then we go back to this lawsuit with the SEC, and so on and so forth. But I couldn't find anything about a concrete partnership, and especially if there is a partnership. To what extent? At this point, yes, I also have some political news, so you don't completely hate me again saying, yeah, this is so bearish here. It's also a bit fake, this topic. It concerns the US Treasury and that they hold XRP in some form, because all those XRPs that were supposedly sent back and forth somewhere are fake. So that was then distributed accordingly and talked about, yeah, and that could be. And here in the holdings of 16,000 XRP, that can be 100% disproven. This statement is refuted, as are all the X contributions that are circulating somewhere. Those were just rumors, which turned out to be fake. But still, before we get to the XRP chart analysis, I want to highlight that the trading volume on Coinbase has completely exploded. So we're talking about an increase of 9,640%. So that's pretty wild. So here we reached 438 million US dollars. But that also has consequences, and I don't want to offend the hodlers. I made a video about it yesterday. Feel free to click here if you haven't seen it yet. But here it's also about the trading volume, that there are a lot of traders active in the market. And I can also say from my own experience, I'll get to which trades I have running in a moment, but it's really worth it right now for traders. Why? Because XRP is quite volatile. So I would think about it if I were you. I've also set up a VIP trader group here that you can use completely for free. You'll find the instructions in the description. How is the whole thing set up? Open and honest, transparent. It runs through BingX, and I also get a share of all the fees that come from the trades. But there are 2 professional traders in the group who share the signals with you. No investment advice, but you can then copy them accordingly or just copy the trades manually. And then, as I said, the profits are really noticeable. And these traders managed to grow an account from $4,000 to $30,000 in just 2 months. There are also some losing trades in there, that's for sure. But you can also tell it's not like I'm going in here with 100x leverage, which, by the way, is complete nonsense. Instead, proper risk management is also being applied. So feel free to check that out for free. As I said, you'll find all the information in the description. The topic of ETFs is also quite bullish. You can also see that more and more is happening in this direction, and more applications are coming out. Yeah, whether a legal dispute with the SEC is quickly resolved or not, I wonder if that's even crucial for whether ETFs will come. I personally doubt that now, because look, there is also a counter Coinbase. There is still an active case from the SEC, yet there are all these ETFs, like the Bitcoin ETFs, where 90% of the total volume is secured on Coinbase. So yes, you can leave it as it is for now. But at this point, I would also say seriously that the SEC will probably no longer take it if, on the one hand, it is considered assets. If, on one hand, Coinbase is approved as an asset custodian, but on the other hand, there's still an active lawsuit going on. So let's wait and see. Maybe these ETFs will come much sooner than we all think. And now just a quick look at the chart, because it actually looks quite bullish. Looks good. So if we take a look at this downtrend we had until yesterday, there was a breakthrough here, and there was another retest, but then it just continued right away. Now we just have to wait and see for 15 minutes. Yeah, you can leave it like that for now. In the end, this sideways movement is now back with a bit of a downtrend. I guess the testing is happening here. The next big threshold should be around 2.53. That was the last peak here. Up. If that finally gets broken, then we could really talk about an uptrend. I don't want it to look too... It looks bearish, but if we take a look at this, there's still a lot of volume down here that should definitely be picked up. And we mustn't forget, a lot of over-leveraged long positions were opened here, which the market makers would definitely like to pick up. Now, there has already been a correction here, which means that should be out of the market again. However, there is definitely still a lot left open overall. And now, because of this uptrend, many might say, yeah, okay, let's go again. And it can only go up, but it can also still go down. Let's wait and see. Last week, I opened a bot with you all on YouTube Live, or rather, I opened 2 bots, one on Ethereum. You can see where it currently stands. It has definitely taken a hit in the price and hasn't recovered as well anymore. XRP actually looks good, at least when you take a look at the grid profits for both. There has been some movement, but the unrealized profits where the bot has been buying back in are important. So key, please consider such bots in the long term. Here, this is still within a reasonable range when you look at the grid profit. I want to show this briefly again because these bots are quite cool when you select this one here. Then you can see how beautifully it has opened positions again and again, picked them up, sold them, opened them again, and so on. But essentially, it's still this downtrend that has just been broken here. And now we just have to wait and see. So if you're also interested in this topic about the bots, feel free to check out last week's live session where these bots that are still open were also started. Here's the link to the video. And otherwise, if you want to support this channel a bit, the fees would go to BingX anyway. I only get a part of that, communicated very openly and transparently. Take a look in the description. You can sign up through my link and then start your own bot. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to join the Telegram group. That's all for today. I'm very curious to hear your opinion on this. So feel free to write about it in the comments and please don't take it the wrong way. No, I'm not afraid. I'm just being realistic. So as I said, I always appreciate that, even if it's just a quick free like. And of course, a subscription would be great too. Then this channel will just grow beautifully. Continue. And finally, I can only give you the tip to check out this video as well. I took a detailed look at Ondo and checked out what's currently possible, whether you should invest or not. I find it quite exciting. In the area of ROA, as I said, feel free to check it out. Otherwise, we'll see each other tomorrow for the next update. Until then, all the best. Bye.